Story 1. Am I the a-hole here? I had to cut off my mother because she wouldn't follow basic safety rules with my kids. I am the oldest of 3. I got married first and had kids first. My mother loves the in-ground pool in the backyard. She offered to babysit when my first was born, and because we both worked, we were happy to have free childcare. This went okay for 1 year. When my daughter was 2, and Mom had just opened the pool, I reminded her, do not put the baby in the pool. You just opened it yesterday, and it is not heated. The water is too cold. Mom agreed, and I went to work. P.S. Mom is obese and has a lot of body fat that helps her regulate in cold water. The baby had very little. When I got home, they were both in the pool, and the baby was shivering. We argue. I bought her this little swimsuit, and she was so cute in it, we had to swim. Mom said she wasn't cold, but the baby got sick. At 3 years old, my daughter was having food allergies. When I dropped my daughter off, I explained that she is having food allergies, we don't know what from, and the pediatrician has her on a strict elimination diet, slowly adding foods to find which ones she is allergic to. Doctor orders, do not feed her anything unless it is in this lunch basket. Prescribed diet only. Mom agrees. When I get home, they are eating cookies and cake. Mom says, grandmas are supposed to spoil grandkids. At 4 years old, my mom lost the child in the store while shopping. A week later, my wife loses her in a store. A month after that, I also lose her in Walmart and ask security for help. They call the cops, who lock down the Walmart and start a lost child search. We found her hiding inside the camouflage jackets in sporting goods, which really, when you think about it, is a good hiding spot. So, when I had a dinner invitation to meet with the VP and my boss to discuss promotion options and moving bonus, I told Mom no shopping. She agreed, explaining that in addition to the 4-year-old, she was caring for a senior harsh Alzheimer's patient family member. When I arrived, Mom is getting herself and the senior ready to go out. She asks for the car seat. We argue about that for several minutes. She says I have to go to my important meeting, so I don't have a choice. Give me the car seat. I called my boss, asked forgiveness, and canceled dinner due to a small family emergency. The job offer was rescinded the next day. Dad refuses to discuss it. I go no contact. Mom tells the entire family, friends, neighbors, church that I refuse to see her for no reason. So, 4 questions. Am I the a-hole here for going no contact? Am I the a-hole here for trying to talk it out for months? Am I the a-hole here for keeping no contact unless she apologizes and promises to change behavior? She pulled the same food stunt on my brother's kid and my sister's kids years later. The 4-year-old daughter is now 17. I have 2 more kids that she barely ever met. Am I the a-hole here for keeping no contact unless Mom agrees to discuss her behavior, apologize, and change the behavior? Now for the comments. You know, if there was an Olympic sport for ignoring basic safety rules, your mom would be a gold medalist. 1 gold and 2 bronze. My siblings have not cut her off yet, but they limit how much freedom she has with them. She has retired from competition now and is coaching other entitled boomers into selfish heights and parenting lows. Not to seem obvious, but like, she breaks rules literally set by doctors because she doesn't care. I mean, the food allergy thing, like I know it's probably unlikely, but she could kill your child. What's she going to say then? Well, grandparents are supposed to spoil grandchildren? Yes, they are, but not in a destructive manner. And she lies to your face about not going anywhere with her, and instead of making excuses, just throws you under the bus, potentially losing you an opportunity. Not to seem rude, but have you checked out the Raised by Narcissist subreddit? Not saying she is one, but so far the only thing that matters in her mind is what she wants. It's not just that she could kill the child, it's the time and effort that goes into a food trial that she just flushed down the drain. It takes weeks on a restricted diet to clear their system before adding things back in a controlled manner. Now they have to start all over. Wow. That is a calm and logical thought. My mother would hate you. I mean, she was terrible at childcare, but every time she stepped over a boundary, you went back. Her surprise is genuine, since how was she to know you meant it that time? You are 100% right. We did discuss that this was not acceptable, but I was stupid enough to think my mother would be responsible in the future. Silly me. How did all three of you manage to lose your kid in a store within a month-long period? She was fast. She really likes hide and seek. So we had to change our behavior and limit how we took her out in public. My wife and I always went out together to shop while she had this habit. One would shop, the other would watch out daughter. She was a fast and brave 4-year-old. Now she is a fast and brave young woman of 17. Well, kind of for letting her watch your kiddo for 4 years. As you have described her, I wouldn't have let her watch my pet rock for an hour. But that's just me. Probably would have been fine. The rock wasn't as good at hide and seek. On the other hand, if it got in the pool, it would… well, you know. You're not the a-hole for cutting off contact with your mom. She repeatedly disregarded important rules for your kid's safety and well-being, despite your clear instructions. It sounds like you've made every effort to communicate your concerns, and her behavior is reckless and selfish. It's completely reasonable to set boundaries and protect your children, even if that means going no contact. For the second question, trying to talk things out for months shows you gave her a chance, and it seems like she didn't make any meaningful changes. As for the third question, holding out for an apology and a promise to change is valid. You're not being unreasonable by demanding an apology before reopening communication, especially given how serious her behavior was. Lastly, it's your choice whether to maintain contact, but keeping it conditional on her taking responsibility is entirely fair. You've tried to be patient, and your priority should be your family's safety and mental health. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my ex and former best friend to take my kids out of state for a week to heal and recover after she was left unable to have children? I have 2 children under 12 with my ex. We divorced 5 years ago after I found out he and my former best friend were having an affair. They both tried to apologize and asked for it to not ruin everything, but their actions had already ruined everything. I hate the 2 of them. I no longer care about how they're doing, but for my kids' sake, I remain civil. I have never badmouthed them to my kids. I have never told my kids what happened. I would never want my kids to be harmed more by their father's actions than they already were. And the divorce was tough for them, and they had a hard time coming to terms with the changes. They still need therapy for some adjustment issues that have remained. My former best friend hasn't helped it either, by trying to continue on as best friends despite her actions. It also didn't help that the kids went from their parents living together to their dad living with mom's former friend. But again, my primary focus has been my children. I love my kids more than I hate those 2 repulsive individuals. I love my kids more than myself, which is why I worked so hard to be civil in front of my kids. Because the last thing I wanted was to make nice with them. But my kids love their dad, and that has never changed. My ex and this woman are now married, and they tried to have children together. In December, she had her 10th miscarriage and had to be rushed to the hospital and into surgery, which left her unable to get pregnant again. I got a call from ex telling me all this and asking me to bring the children to the hospital to stay until she was ready to leave. It was my parenting time, so I told him I would not bring them to sit and wait. He was very unsettled and told me to bring the kids by and he'd get them to ask me to let them stay. I told him that wasn't happening. He made no more contact after that, and he didn't take the kids for his parenting time either or contact me about it. His mom reached out and she told me he refused to leave the hospital. He didn't see them until his parenting time came around again and she was released. There was a new tension in the air at that point. He was furious with me for keeping the kids from sitting vigil in the hospital with him. Now we have another dilemma that's become an issue. My ex booked a healing getaway for them, and they want the kids to go along. It happens during my week and it's a school week. He also wants to take his weeks as normal before and after that. So he would have them for 3 consecutive weeks. From what he stated, he would potentially keep them out of school for that long so the kids can be there to help her recover and grieve knowing she has them, was how he explained it to me. I said no, and I explained that I was not letting him take them out of school for a week just for her. I told him the kids are not their emotional support to get them through this, and therapy is significantly better. I told him I didn't approve of them missing extended school time period, but I wasn't giving up my week for it. He tried to state the week he missed should be made up for, but our court-ordered parenting plan states if a parent voluntarily doesn't take their week without an agreed-upon make-up period, then the other doesn't need to give up a week in return. I pointed this out to him, and he asked me how I could be so by the book about this. He said human decency would state I should be willing to put aside our differences at a time like this, and that school isn't more important than family. He asked me how I would feel if she ends her life because of this, and my refusal was part of the reason why. I told him I wouldn't feel anything. I told him they lost all their rights for me to feel something for them when they betrayed me, and I would not be manipulated into agreeing. He's pushing very hard for this and trying to guilt me into agreeing. I know I might be overly harsh in my response to this, so I wanted to ask if people believe I'm wrong or not. Now for the comments. Not trying to scare you at all, but you ex trying to help her heal through having the kids for 3 weeks is ridiculous. He wanted the children on your week to sit in vigil with him in a hospital. Could have been quite traumatizing to them, which for some reason didn't occur to him at all. He seems to be only focused on her needs. But 3 weeks is plenty of time for the both of them to disappear with your children. The pair of them don't seem to have any guilt whatsoever when it comes to taking things from you. This is a woman who, after stealing your husband, expected you to still to be besties. Why wouldn't she want to take your children now she can't have her own? Because in her mind, you can have more. Not the a-hole. Your kids are not your cheating ex's wife's emotional support animals. He can go get a dog. Dogs love you even if you are a complete a-hole. You don't pull kids out of school just to make yourself feel better. That is completely inappropriate. I agree, and he sounds like he would keep them out for 3 weeks, if not for a little less than that. It's a lot of school to miss, and not a very good reason in my opinion. I would actually be more concerned about the emotional damage this so-called healing getaway would inflict. You don't expect kids to provide adults emotional support like that. And you are completely right. 3 weeks out of school is a lot. It may cause them to fall behind a grade and could be considered truancy, because the school would have to agree that that vacation would be an acceptable excuse for missing school. Just so many things wrong with their selfish idea. You don't. They are so very wrong for it, and they do not see it. Plus, there's a lack of care about the impact on the kids emotionally and educationally. Not the a-hole. Are you sure they won't just leave early during his custody time and take the kids anyway? Can you talk to your lawyer about options if that happens? He would lose custody if he did that. He needs my permission to leave the state with them just like I need his. They could try it. But it would be considered kidnapping at that point, and he knows I'd go after him for it. That's why he's pressing for my consent. Not the a-hole. You are not the a-hole. Your primary concern is your children's well-being, including their education and stability. I think it's reasonable to prioritize their needs over your ex and his wife's emotional challenges. Your boundaries are clear, and you're following what the court ordered. Thank you. I know right now my ex is more worried about his wife and the emotional side of things, but that's not a burden to be placed on our children, and not at the expense of their education. One child already has challenges with school, and adding to those is not something I would want to do on top of the other reasons. It's unhealthy for them to be emotional support for a semi-suicidal adult anyway. Document these discussions in case this scenario gets even weirder. I agree. Not to mention, even without the semi-suicidal part, if she puts the weight of her longing to be a mother on them, it's a huge burden for kids to cope with. They won't have anyone else present to help them, just their father, who only appears concerned with his wife. I have saved every discussion about this. I like to make sure I document any trouble we have because it could be needed for court. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for leaving a family gathering and taking the cake with me after getting my feelings hurt? I, 27 female, hit 1 year sober from alcohol at the beginning of the year. This was a huge accomplishment for me. It was bigger to me than finishing college. I told my family that next time we were together for family dinner, I had something to celebrate. This all happened at my mom's. The kids were playing and the adults were hanging out. I took the moment to share that I'd reached 1 year sober and how good I felt about it. They went with, "Oh, that's what you were talking about, and has it been a year already?" I am embarrassed to admit I hoped someone would say they're proud of me. My brother-in-law Steve looked at my sister, and they both said, "Well," at the same time, and she said, "Since we're all here, niece just got into a specific gymnastics thing. It's been a long road, but she did it." Steve popped some wine they'd brought and started giving everyone glasses, cups. He made eye contact with me and his face fell. I had this gnawing feeling, so got up from the table. I took a walk. I tried to get through the moment mentally so I could be present for my niece to celebrate her success. But when I got back to the house, my sister asked me why I left without saying anything. I said I needed a minute to myself. She looked at me funny and said, "Okay." I said I'd shared something I was very proud of, and she bulldozed over it. My mom put her hand up and asked me what my news was. I said that I'd told them. I hit 1 year sober. Mom said my generation always wanted praise for doing the bare minimum. That wasn't an accomplishment, it was just what I needed to do, like graduating high school. I tried to make it through to dinner, but found myself just not in the mood anymore. I decided to go home. Here is the direct thing I am being called a butthead for. I brought a small berry chantilly cake, my favorite, to share after dinner. It was the thing I decided I earned. The kids had definitely seen it. On my way out, I decided to take it home with me. I guess when they realized the cake wasn't in the garage fridge anymore, my sister called to ask me why I took it. I said I did, because it was my cake to celebrate my accomplishment. She said, word for word, "Are you effing serious? Oh my God, Emma, grow up. You are such a effing baby." My mom later texted me directly to tell me how disappointed she was that I threw a tantrum because my niece got more attention than me. I don't think her read of what happened is right, but that is why I am asking you guys. Am I the a-hole because I took home the cake in the end? Was that really childish of me, considering the kids saw it and then didn't get any? As I was putting on my shoes to leave, Steve found me and directly apologized and said that he was completely oblivious in the moment. I know he did not do anything to intentionally hurt me. Now for the comments. They had wine, which naturally excluded you, right after you told them your good news. I am glad you took the cake. So at the bottom of the post, I talk about my brother-in-law Steve, who is the one who opened the bottle. He apologized directly to me for it, and that's what the look he gave me was about, I think. He said that he was just on autopilot with my sister talking, and that when he saw me, he was like, "Oh, fuff, that was a stupid thing to do." I am not mad at Steve, and I know he didn't do it on purpose to upset me or anything. I think I'm confused as to why they're celebrating a child's accomplishment with wine while the kids are outside. Seems like mom and dad cared more about getting a pat on the back from the adults than letting their daughter share her own news with the family and celebrating in an age-appropriate way. Proud of you, OP. Don't let anyone diminish your accomplishments, ever. I hope you ate the hell out of that cake. Not the a-hole. Sweet OP. First, I am not only thrilled for you, but I am so proud of you. Honey, you didn't end up with addiction because you had such a supportive and functional family. You are looking for love in the wrong places. When you have a milestone to celebrate, do it with friends, do it at a meeting, do it here, do it on a Zoom call with random strangers. But your family of origin has lost access to the happy occasions in your life. They do not deserve you. Your sister and brother-in-law are rude and petty, but your mom really takes the cake. Being 365 days sober is a big effing deal. She strikes me as the type to tell someone who lost 100 pounds that they've done the bare minimum and are still fat. She's mean. It's time to significantly limit contact with your family. It's very hard, but you've done something way harder. Put yourself first. Love yourself. Celebrate yourself. They know where to find you when they are ready to stop being petty and nasty and self-absorbed. Not the a-hole. Mom, if you actually think that the reason I'm upset is because niece had something to celebrate, then you are not only oblivious, but also a huge a-hole. And if anyone is disappointed, it's me being disappointed in you. I'm super happy for niece. But all of the rest of you adults in the room were dismissive and really crappy, and I'm under no obligation to put up with your bullcrap. At least Steve had the decency to apologize for being so oblivious and insensitive. You clearly have no excuse, nor are you excused. Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.